Home. I'm Larry Powell, and this 2-hour tape is going to be about leg wrestling. And one of my students, Abe Cross, is going to help me out here, and we're going to try to go through my viewpoint anyway of leg wrestling, both offensive and defensive. And as we're doing this, keep in mind that what I'm trying to give to you is something that almost everybody on your team could do. Not just a few athletes, but the type of leg wrestling that I like to teach guys, I think can be safe for virtually everybody, and you can take any or all of it and work with it and have some success and be safe with it. So that's my goal. I'm not going to have you doing stuff that takes a real outstanding athlete. Abe is going to help me out in terms of checking the time as we go along this 2 hours, and also keep me squared away with the camera here. And I really appreciate your help today. Thanks for coming over. Let's start right down and go through a couple things. I'm going to go through the grapevine stuff first here. So Abe, would you lay with your head going that direction along the tape, and in fact on this side of the tape here we should get. And what I'm talking about when I'm talking about grapevining is I'm talking about taking a leg and stepping it over and hooking it around the opponent. And so that's a single grapevine right there with my right leg. And so my instep comes around the lower leg somewhere. If I do a double grapevine, then my other leg would go around his other leg. When we're doing single or double grapevines, we've got to make sure that we have good balance. We don't want to get flipped over or anything. What I like to do is not have my arms tied up too much. I like to post with one arm, and I like to use my other hand to slide palm down under the guy's neck and flip my thumb side blade, the bone on the thumb side of the lower arm, up against the back of his skull, the bottom of his skull. And as I do that, I'm going to slide very high with my groins, way up in his chest. Double grapevine is a very high move, not down by his pelvis. And I'm going to drop my chest down toward his face, and it'll make him turn his head one way or another. And I'm going to try to stretch his neck so that he ends up with about a 3-inch longer neck. I'm going to keep my other hand posted out here. So as I stretch, right there, I'm going to get both shoulders touching the mat, hopefully for 2 seconds, and that's going to be the end of the match. So that's my double grapevine. If I just had a single grapevine, I could still do the same tactic. I can have my free leg outside, I can have my free leg inside, but I'm always trying to stretch him and pull his neck long so that he can bridge well. Now, if I had turned him over and maybe had a half Nelson or something like that, that brings my head and shoulders lower. So you got to be very careful if you're going to do something like that. Again, don't pull his head up so much as stretch it forward and try to get the pin. Normally, I will let go of almost anything that I have with that one hand and run it under the head like I did there at the beginning. So that's a little bit about the grapevine. Now we use the grapevine to do a lot of the pinning out of these different leg situations. Okay, another concept is a crab. And the way I'm going to teach this is I'm just going to sit next to Abe for a minute and put my legs around the outside of him. And when we're doing a crab or any kind of legs, we do not want to be sitting on our rear like I am right now in both buttocks. We always want to be up looking down. We just as soon not be on our hip at all. But there are certain things that get us to our hip once in a while that we need to have the ability to save ourselves and right ourselves and get back up into a better position. A crab can be single or double, just like grapevines, and the crab will go from the outside of the leg in, and my knee stays outside and presses in. My toe that goes on the inside of the leg points out, and I would stretch that leg. Now, I'm also usually doing something with my arms, and he needs to be in my lap. Now, right now, he's not in my lap. if I put a double crab on Abe here, this is the way we would drill. We would start out with a double crab, and we would have to pull this guy back into our lap. So we could just hook under the arms, don't touch his neck or head to put it into a full Nelson, but we could just pull back and lay back and pull his hips up into our abdomen area. We can have a 2-on-1 to do that as well. So there's different ways that we can approach this, but we're going to get him back into our lap, then we turn him. And as we turn him, now our crabs can really work for us. Our knees press in real tight on his legs, our toes point out, and our bottom arm stays with that arm bar, top arm straightens out and forces a half, nice straight arm half. Now I'm scoring points. I'm not going to pin him with this, but I'm scoring points. So my bottom leg is crab, my top leg is crab. The drill would be, just to get the guy's hips moving good and getting so you could crab on both sides, is to come back, hook his shoulder, pull him up into your chest, pull him across, change arm bar hands and change half hands and crab him and half him over on that other side. Again, I'm pinching him with my knees, pointing out with my toes. Pull on that shoulder, pull him back again, arm bar the bottom arm, half the top arm. We could even just keep our hand in the half and yank his neck back like that and take him over. Or we could just stay underneath both arms. Or we could go into a 2-on-1 and take him back and forth. So all of these things work. Now, we don't want to stay in a double crab. I like to get in a double crab, score some points if I get caught on my hip. And then I want to get out of it by doing this. Take my bottom foot out of the crab, post it on the mat, and start driving with my top leg, but I keep the half in as I come over, and I get him back to his base. Now, oftentimes, a guy will pause in this position, and it's just amazing that as we come over and he starts to pause, if I will just jump and stick my half in deeper, I can actually get into a very nice half Nelson. And at this point, I could either keep the bottom arm and lift and set, or I could just let the bottom arm go, lift, quarter turn, run him over, and start pinning him the way we normally do in a half Nelson technique. So a lot of times when I come up out of a crab situation, I won't stop, I won't pause, I'll keep going and come across him, and I'll be able to throw that in. Okay, where's our tape? Okay. Now, one of the values of a crab is that it can help you sometimes in a bad situation. For example, come up in your base and face the camera. And let's move back this way a little bit. Let's say that Abe does some type of a roll. He has my wrist controlled here, and somehow he's coming in here and he's rolling me, and I get partway over, but he still knocks me to my side. What I'm starting to do right here is to save myself. I'll either shoot a half right there, or I'll reach down and start pulling his wrist off so I get a 2-on-1. But before he can turn on me, I'm going to take my top leg and sneak it under for a crab. So if he's trying to get his hips out and turn over me, he's not going to be able to get high enough. And so I'm destroying him right here. And I post, crab, push back up, and now I've got my ride. Or I could start throwing a half. So here's how it sort of looks. I sort of do that all at once. He's getting me in trouble. He starts to roll me. And right here, see, I'm right up here with my leg, starting to pinch his hips, right under for the crab, try to get into an arm bar or a forced half, and drive myself back up and get in good shape here. Okay. I don't want to have to do that, but it's not a bad thing to go through that, because every once in a while we might get caught in that kind of situation. Okay, the next thing I want to do, and Abe, I'm just going to show my legs here for a second. The next thing is stride ride. Very, very, very important movement here in wrestling. When we do the stride ride, it makes our legs look as though when we're laying on our side, and I don't like to be on my side very much, but this is okay. This stride ride is okay to do this. It looks like I'm in a running stride. my bottom leg will be under his hips and be sort of partially crabbing, partially grapevining that far leg. And my top leg will be over top of his near leg and dragging it. And if I can get my foot on the mat, my toe, and walk it back, I'll split his legs and I'll immobilize his hips. Meanwhile, I'm doing things up here with my arms. He's laying on his side and back, and I'm scoring points right here, and his legs are trapped right here. Now, how do we get into that stride ride situation? We can get into it actually probably 4 really good ways. There are more, but 4 are quite good here. And I want to do it in this way. We're gonna turn around so our back is to, like, your base will be right here, and then you're gonna lay toward the window there, and you're gonna have your legs. You're gonna lay right down on your belly. Well, I'm not telling him far enough ahead where I want him to be here. I'm not doing a good job here. Okay, at this point, let's see, I'm just using a single arm bar right here. And the reason why I want him to see this from this angle, Abe, is this knee right here is important. This knee is going to end up allowing me to pull him over my leg, and my leg then is going to be able to vine or crab his far leg, and his hips are going to be up off the mat when that happens. So this knee is important. It goes right here at the top of his pelvis, right at the curve there, a little tiny cove. Okay, the other thing that's important is I'm going to keep his arm blocked off so he can't grab my foot. So I'm going to block that off, step with my heel right at his other hip joint, right at his other curve or cove. Now, at this point, I don't want him to come back and grab me, so I now slide this hand that was blocking his tricep under and catch his shoulder and make my elbow flare out, make my forearm flare out so that he can't reach back and grab my foot. At this point, I'm going to lift him. Now I can't get my foot anyway, see? I'm going to lift him and fall diagonally forward over his near shoulder. When I do that, I can push off with his foot. See, I got my base under myself, my knee and my foot. I can get him up in the air. Now I fall forward, and as I start to fall forward, this heel, the far leg's heel, starts sliding down his leg, and he falls his hips over my bottom leg. I'm able to grapevine or crab that leg, however you want to look at it, and my top leg now has gone deep over his leg, and I try to get my foot on the mat if I can, my toe, and start walking that away. Now, I've just holding to him with an arm bar and a shoulder hook right here. I should be scoring points right now. If the referee does not think that he's turned enough, then I'll straighten my half out again, push his head away, nice straight arm half, and I'll try to keep that bar on the far side. I'm definitely displaying now for the referee, and I'm definitely going to get points scored. Okay, at this point, I'm still not going to pin him, but I've got him in good shape. Okay? Now, there's some other things that I'd like to do to try to pin him. I'm going to end up pinning him probably in a double grapevine. So I can't end up staying on my side. I'm eventually going to get over top of this guy. Here's how it works. Let's say I'm scoring here and I get my 3 points. It's all I can get, and he's keeping his shoulder up a little bit. Now, at this point, I can start pulling up on his wrist with my top hand. I let go of the half. I start pulling this up and let my other arm slide out from underneath. And I slide it all the way until he falls down toward his shoulder, so it's under his neck now. Now, if he's trying to turn away, I just lift my forearm and my thumb side blades up here against his jaw. That's a little bit of a deterrent. Plus, I've got this arm that I'm starting to pull across. Now, I'll reach back down and try to catch his shoulder or his tricep, whatever I can get a hold of with that arm. Now I climb up. So I've moved from the wrist, climbing up, and put my other hand up there in that tricep. So I got both of them up there. I start pulling that across. Now I've got him. He can turn all he wants. Go ahead and turn left, Dave. But he's in trouble. He can only turn so far. And at this point, I've got him cinched up good. Here's what I do. I lay back, suck in my air, and try to get my left ribs over top of his near shoulder. So I lay way back, turn my side to him, and now press down with those ribs. And he's really trapped up right now. As soon as I do that, I'm really ready to go. Now, I could have gone before that, but I really like to do this. Now I know I really got that guy trapped for a moment, and I take this top leg here, and it's going to swing up and over, and my heel is going, the heel of my shoe, back of my shoe is going to chop right there at his waist. And what that's going to do is pull me around. I release my other leg, and as I bring this up, I hold my arms just like they are now, and it pulls me right on top. Now I slide my legs down, put my feet together. Now, we didn't talk about this yet for the double grapevine. I don't chase a guy's legs up in the air. If I don't have his legs grapevine, but I want to, I just touch my feet together, make a circle around him, and he's in what we call turtle position. He's going to have to put something on the mat to move. And so whenever he puts a foot on the mat, I'll feel it, and I'll know that I can grapevine that side. I still don't go after the other one. I keep my knees bent, my one knee bent, and if he puts the other one down, fine, I'll get that one. Now notice, the hand that I am posting with was the one that originally was pulling on the wrist and pulling on the arm here. Now I post, and the one that I let go and put under his back, under his neck here, stays right there. Look where his arm ends up, right across his face here. Sorry, Mr. Abe, but he's being a good guy letting me do this. And this is very confining. And so I keep my thumb side blade right up against the back of his skull, and I would go right into my double grapevine, post out, and pin him right here. That's the finish for the stride ride stuff. Okay, at this point now, I want to do several of these, several ways to get in. We'll just go right through them. So Abe, same story. You're going to be facing a window. I want them to see how it looks here from behind. So we already did it with the single arm bar. Excuse me. Now I've got a let's say I've got a 2-on-1 arm bar here. Then I'm riding. Okay, I stick my knee in the same spot, and I'll put my foot right here. Now I got to be careful. He may try to grab my foot. So as I do that, I've got to get him up in the air right away and fall forward. I don't want to sit around very long in case he tries to get my foot. And now I've got a 2-on-1 on it. As soon as we land, see my legs are in the same position, I can again start pulling his shoulder to myself. I can start doing the same forced half here, straighten out that, and do everything the same. Everything the same here. Okay, so that's another one, a 2-on-1. Okay, I personally like the single arm bar. I feel it gives me a little bit more flexibility. But also, if you're a hammerlock person or would like to be a hammerlock person, let's pretend that we've already purchased this hammerlock somehow. We won't get into that right now. And when I do a hammerlock, most of the time, I like to have my forearm up his spine with pressure pointing toward the back of his head. My palm is up, and I can hold his hand or his wrist pretty easily that way. And it's a nice, comfortable thing. When I come around and get in position to do this same type of a motion that we've been doing here, the stride ride, my left knee is going to be sliding under his elbow here. It'll still be at that hip joint. So I'm putting it right there, and I'm blocking his other arm. That's why I like to have this hand free, so I can block that off and keep him away from my foot. And now once I'm up here, my forearm comes off his back, and I'm just holding this hammerlock in my hand. Then I hook his shoulder the same way that I did before, lift, and fall forward over his hammerlock, right there. Again, my legs do exactly the same thing that they've been doing. The only difference now is he's laying on his own arm. I just hold on to his wrist with my hand underneath. And I can still shoot a half here. You could get a pin out of this one, right here. Now again, everything is the same. If I want to come up on top,
then this leg is going to go over. And right here, he can't turn down very easily because I've got his arm back underneath of him here. And so as I start to go over top, I let that go. He might even still be laying on that arm for a while. It's just hard to say how we catch him here. And then I go in and try to pin him the same way, right here. All right, let's turn him sideways now so they can see how we grab that arm. Just to make sure that whether it's the hammer lock or we'll just do the arm bar this time. Again, I'm blocking here, and then when I grab this shoulder, I point my elbow out to keep his arm away from my foot. Lift, fall diagonally forward, here we go. You can do this on a lot of people. Okay, the last one, and you can just stay in that same position here, is one we just call the head and arm. We're riding here, and he's down, and I'm neck prying or something. And the tighter the guy is, the easier it is. But you can do it all the time. And all of a sudden here, again, I'm going to sort of block this arm, step in, my knee and heel are in the same position all the time. And now, I've got this block. I'm going to come in here and reach under. The arm that goes under his neck is palm down. The one that goes under the arm is palm down and grabs the one that goes around his neck. That's the one you want to do the grabbing. The one that goes under the arm does the grabbing. Palm down on my wrist. Now, I'm not going across his neck as far as a choke hold. What I'm going to do is pull him sideways and up. And here we go again. And we got to be careful he doesn't grab our foot, so we got to keep our elbow up in the air, right there. Now, right here, he's got an arm free. That left arm. If he tries to post out on it, then I see where he posts, and I just fall back this way, just a little bit farther, and he's going to go over. Now look, I'm not across his throat or anything, but this puller right here, this is my cutter. My thumb side blade is going to go right in the side of his jaw or neck, not going to choke him, and I'm pulling with this other hand. That's why I want that kind of grip right there. I want to pull on that, okay? Also, my head would go into this side of it. And this would just be called a head and arm. This is our head and arm option. I do the same thing with my legs as I've been doing. And the neat thing about this is when you're working with this kind of thing, he's probably going to take one of his arms and try to come up and start to peel. Whichever hand of mine he grabs, I take my other hand, circle around, and grab him any way that I can. Like grab his wrist, for example. Then I grab up higher with the other hand and just climb until I get his shoulder wrapped up. And you've seen this before already in an earlier movement here. Once we get this, then we can bang his hip and step over, and he's in big time trouble. So that's a little trick about when I'm up in here and the guy starts to reach with either hand, doesn't make any difference, and he starts to attack, then I'm just going to go after him. Now, if he's attacked, he hardly ever attacks with that top hand. Well, let's say he does. Let's say he starts to pull off. Go ahead and pull that off. I'm going to catch here. Now watch. I grab that, and they almost always will be coming with the other hand. So go in there, and that's what I want. That one right there is what I want. So I just kept grabbing until I got a chance, and then I go both hands on it real quick. And now I got it. Now sometimes I could just be in here, and I can just feel like, hey, I can reach down. I can get that. I can reach right over there and get that and start pulling that thing up. Once I get that arm, that far arm cinched up, it's good to go. I can step right over, start pinning him right there. So I know what I'm looking for, and he's not real sure about what he's looking for. Now, one other thing. If I'm in here and he sort of bridges on that far foot and tries to come over top of me back this way, I'm going to stretch my arms out like that. Okay? So let's do it again. I'm here, and you start to bridge and stretch right there. I'm just stretch that out and arch back. See? So he even got out of my leg a little bit there. But he's not going to get over. And when he turns like that, I'm going to take my top leg now and go right over top. And that's okay, because he turned his hips toward me. So I'm going to do that. So he just sort of fell into bad water right there. Okay. So those are the 4 ways that I like to try to turn that. Anything else is fine. Any other way that you can get into that. But don't sit on your rear to do it. Always be approaching it from top if you can.
Okay, one other thing, and that is we're going to need to we're going to do the cross body series now, the way that I like to teach the cross body, real safe. How's our time going, Abe?
25 minutes.
All right. Now, we're going to spend a little time on this cross-body stuff. And we've got to think in terms of how are we going to get into it. We want one leg in, basically. But sometimes, when we get one leg in, the guy might get up to his base. We really shouldn't be throwing the legs on a guy when he's on his hands and knees. We should get him broken down and put the leg in before he gets back to his base. But sometimes if we've got the leg in and he gets up, we've got to get him broken down. So that's why we have to learn a few ways to break him down from the base. Not that you're going to be throwing it in from the base, but that he might get to his base once in a while, and then we've got to get him down. Now before that happens, I want to explain the leg I'm trying to put in. Go ahead and lay down on your left side. Normally, I might be, let's see, I got an arm bar here and I'm right and stuff. And if his legs are open a little bit like this, I'm going to take my tricep, not my elbow, but I'm going to smash my tricep back here, and I'm going to drop my ear right in his ribs here and face down. I don't want his elbow coming back here knocking me in the chops. So I'm going to be face down here, just presenting with my hard top of the head, and I'm also going to have this pressed back here. Now, people that know the Navy ride can see that I'm already in the Navy ride, which is a very nice ride. But if I want the leg in, I press back, tighten up my neck muscles, keep it caught right there, and then take my leg and loop it over and step it in. And I want to step it in as high in the crotch as I can, but we're not trying to hurt anybody. This is very clean wrestling here. So when I do this, I want to get as high in the thighs as I can with my foot flat on the mat, and notice what I've done here. My left knee and thigh are right at his curve again, that same spot that we've been, right at the top of the pelvis is my thigh going down to the mat. I'm on my knee, I've got my toe on the mat, I can push around with my toe, move a little bit that way. My arms are not touching him. I'm ready to grab him though. And it's only going to take about a second for me to determine what I'm going to do here. So that's one way for me to get my leg in. I call this position catbird seat because it used to be an old term which meant that you're in a position of advantage. You're sitting in a catbird seat, and I definitely am. I'm in a definite position of advantage here. So this is the way that I like to get my leg in. That's one of the ways. Okay? So I had an arm bar. He had his legs sort of even there, and I jammed back and then looped my foot over and stepped in. Okay, that's one way. That's the catbird seat. Okay, let's say that I'm just riding here and he's facing the mat a little bit more. Again, I can block forward, step my heel in here, drive into him a little bit, and start driving my foot down through there, start driving my leg down. Now, I'm not in the catbird seat yet, but look what I'm doing. I'm stretching out, putting my ribs right up in the back of his shoulder here, getting some pressure. And what did I do? I let go with my hands. I don't want my hands to get caught in anything. So I'm driving that leg deep and I'm lifting it up. Both knees are on the mat right now. I'm pinching my thighs together at the top of his hips. And I lift that leg that I just put in, that's my crossbody leg, cross it over so that the laces get way high up behind his thigh on the bottom leg there that's laying on the mat. And then I start rotating my hands around so that I'm perpendicular. Now, when I get to this point, the front of this back thigh is against the top of his pelvis. And I'm going to start pushing my way back, little pushes with my hands as quick as I can. When I hook the other leg behind his thigh real high, I touch my toe on the mat. So now, as I push, I've got him trapped there. His hips are trapped and the lower leg is trapped. And as I push back, I can sit back into the catbird seat and I put my hands back again to grab something. Now, his upper body still might be facing right down on the mat, but I'll opened up his crotch. There are 4 things I can do down here and 6 or 7 things I can do up here to try to get him in trouble. So I'm back in the catbird seat by that rotation method, and we need to do that quite a bit. Let's turn around this way just a little bit, Abe, and I'll do that again. Once I'm riding, I could be riding with anything, and if that knee of his comes up at all, you know, like he posts his foot on a mat or something, then I'll just hook right in there, arch up, put that foot around behind his thigh, touch my toe to the mat, get my front of my thigh against his pelvis, and no matter what he tries to do, stay facing down, Mr. Abe, stay facing down. I can still come back here and open his legs up. And this is what I want to do. Now I'll start attacking him. Okay, so I'm back into that position. So that's another way, and that's a very common way that I get the legs in, and the kids get used to doing that too. So you get sliding that in. Okay, couple other ways we might do a little bit later on, but those are very useful ways right there. Now, let's say I've got my leg in, and I like to have my right leg in because most of my pins are going to involve my right hand, and I'm right-handed, and I just feel that I do better if I wrestle with my right hand and right leg. So you might think about what leg that you're using. One other thing is most coaches teach guys to use their left leg. Now, I won't get into all the reasons for that, but I don't think they're very well thought out. So if I use my right leg, I'm probably wrestling against a guy that does not drill against guys that use their right leg very well. He's not used to countering the leg from that side. So it's another advantage as far as I'm concerned. Okay, I'm not married to the legs. I could take the leg out at any time. Like, let's say that I started to get a nice half or something here. I could take my leg out, come around, and do a regular half, a traditional half here, and be pinning this guy. Okay, is this where the camera is, right ahead of us?
Yep.
Here? Okay. Now, make sure that you understand you can take the legs out. Don't feel that you got to stay in the legs all the time. All right, I've got the leg on, and let's say that this guy somehow, I don't do very well or something, and he starts coming up to his base right now. Right there, I would use both legs. Most of the time, I don't want anything to do with both legs, and we call this the stretcher. So as he starts to come up, I'm bringing my other leg around, and I'm using the outside of my foot to smash just above his knee on his thigh. And I call that gaffing the guy. You got to gaff him. And when you do, see my other leg here, it's not hooked over. It's not hooked over his lower leg. It's just inside. I'm just going to make that leg point out. I'm just going to make that knee go out. And so as I gaff right here and make that knee go out, watch my groins. See how high they are? They're way up in his shoulders. So I go, boom, and he goes back down. Also, look at his legs. They're up in the air. Okay? I only do that for a second, but I want to arch into him. My hands are out. They're not under him. I arch, drop that one leg that I brought in for the gaff, and then cross over, hook, rotate, push back. I'm back into the catbird seat again. Okay, let's say, Abe, that somehow you got up to your base quite a bit here, okay? And I got Abe because he's a good, strong guy. Go ahead and push up even more. Right here, right here. Now, at this point, if I want to throw my gaff, I've got to really slide my groins way up here high, and right now I'm hooked over his lower leg. So I would just leave that, and when I bring my gaff in, that knee is going to turn out here. So slow motion. I'm going to slide up him, and as I come over, I'm going to gaff, and then I'm going to reach for the mat and arch right up into him and try to get his legs up. Then I drop the one leg, cross over, back up into here with my hands. Don't touch him. Give him a chance to help you. Okay, thank you. It's not a lot of fun to be pressed down in that stretcher. That's the longest that I stay in the legs. I never, ever try to do a forced half in the legs. One of the worst things I think you could do, if you really are serious about pinning somebody, you're going to get that leg out of there, use a single leg, and do all these other things I'm going to teach you here. What's your time?
35 minutes.
All right, here we go. my viewpoint is when we're in the legs, we want to attack. So as soon as we get a leg in, I want the guy thinking about scoring points, and I would like the guy to try to get the guy on his back in less than 5 seconds. Once the leg is in, the 5-second rule, the 5-second clock starts. And in the guy's head, he's got to be thinking, I'm looking to pin him, I'm looking to pin him, I'm looking for the back points, and I'm trying to do it right away. So we give him 1 second to show us what he's going to do. Then that'll dictate what we can grab. After that second, we got 4 seconds to get him on his back and start getting some back points. Now, before I forget it, after we're done with this phase of it here with the catbird, then we need to show them a couple more ways to go into breaking down from the base. Okay? So don't let me forget here. That's an important thing that we still need to cover some more. Okay, here's the catbird seat. There's the camera, right?
Over the left just a little bit.
Okay, all right, let's turn just a tad. Okay, now at this point, we're already used to this catbird seat. At this point, I'm going to do what is called the crazy cradle. I haven't touched him. A lot of times, this guy will not feel any pressure at all here, and he'll sit right up and he'll be anxious to start taking off. Now, I know that the best way for him to get away would have been for him to pull himself forward and come right out of my legs, like that. But since I know that, if he ever started to do that, I'm ready to grab him with one or both of my hands. And if he slid forward a little bit, I would slide my foot right up in the crotch again and regain my tighter position. Then I would do one of my other moves that would not be the crazy cradle. It would be one of my other moves that would press him into the mat and then cradle him from there or do some other stuff. I wouldn't give him a chance to go forward again because he already showed me that he knows that. But most guys, if they've never had this on them, are we good position here?
Yep.
Okay, then they'll sit up right away and they'll be ready to go. And when they do, they fall into my crazy cradle situation. And that is, I'm going under this leg that's close to me, right under the knee. I'm going under the jaw here. Now sometimes we might just grab our fingers in the pec muscle here, right under the pec in the armpit. But a lot of times I'll just go right under the jaw, right here, and sort of cup it into me, lift with this, and I'm just trying to lift him. Now, I'm not taking him all the way off the mat, but I'm stretching him so his rear is real light on the mat, so that when I go to take him over, he'll go over easily. Do not try to lock hands here. You won't get a good lock here. We'll get a much better lock down on the mat. Now, since this is a cradle, when we do lock hands, the arm that goes to the leg is the one that always reaches up and does the grabbing. The other arm never grabs unless you just can't get close enough, and then you go wrestler's grip, fingers to fingers like that. Otherwise, the one going through the legs always goes above the wrist bone and catches the little finger blade like that with all 4 fingers. The thumb really doesn't do anything. It just lays there and rests right now. So that's the way we want to lock our cradles. In almost any situation, that's the way that I prefer to lock a cradle. Now, because that's my cutter right there, it's also up high so that this guy doesn't have good leverage trying to get up there and peel it off and stuff when he's on his back. Okay, so here's the deal. I stretch, and now I set everything in motion with my leg that was right here by his hip. I slide that past the corner of his far hip here, and I'm going to fall diagonally forward again. You'll hear me say that over and over again. We'll go diagonally forward. There's so many things. As I fall, this foot that's flat on the mat here in his crotch, the laces can scoop up under his far leg and help kick him. And after a while, you got to be careful how much you kick, because when you get the timing down, you could kick him all the way over. We don't want that. So you have to know how much to kick him through experience so that you get him over, but then you want to stop him right there before he flips all the way over, and then you're going to be in bad shape then. So here we go. I lift, set through. As I fall,
I kick that leg, see it come, and as he falls over, the arm that goes through the leg reaches and grabs that wrist, and my corner of my head, the pointiest corner, is always in his temple here. So I've got my cutter pulling on one side, corner of my head on the other, and notice, because I set through with my knee, he is laying on my thigh with his hips, so he's in big trouble right there. Now, as I do this, and as I've got this locked, I usually just straighten out my other leg, and most of the time, the guy will just sort of kick a little bit, but his leg will stay there, you know. But once in a while, you get a guy that swings his leg around and gets out from under. So I drop my leg down around his waist, take my bottom leg, bring it up, and hook over and scissor and squeeze right there across his body. That's a body scissors, it's legal, and that's a pin. Okay, so that's the crazy cradle right there. Just do it one quick time here so they can see the rhythm of it here. So I'm in here, I wrestle, I just come up, guy steps up, I catch him, sit, kick, blocking, he's going to be pinned up in here. I get right up there on my wrist. Okay, now, we got some other stuff. What's our time?
41 minutes.
All right, I'm going to try to finish this out here before an hour is up, as far as all the crossbody and catbird stuff. Okay, the second cradle here is very important. It will be the one that will be used on teammates or people who have already had the crazy cradle done on them a few times. Because they'll quit sitting up. So you're here, he doesn't sit up. In fact, if he starts to slide, we got to catch him, and then you just take both hands and mash him right into the mat. Mash that shoulder right into the mat. When you do, you keep pressing with your lead hand. Take your other hand, palm up, and reach down here quickly and put your fingers, all four fingers, back at the back of his shoe and slide it straight under. So as you start to slide it under, you sort of pull up with your fingers and get all the way to his laces with your fingers. My wrist is at his ankle bone. His ankle is laying on my wrist. Okay? So I've got him caught with all the laces. Now, at this point, draw an imaginary line from his shoe to his head. You're going to see this knee look like it could get hurt. Never ever happens. That isn't going to hurt that knee. But it looks bad. It looks worse than it is. And so what happens is we make a nice steady pull on that knee, but as we do, this hand that was pushing comes around his neck and just tries to, I like to just sort of catch his pec right there. Reach under, reach around the neck, catch the pec, and just pull him up as I'm pulling this toward his head. And he sort of rolls up. See, my knee is in position here again, right at the top of his pelvis. As I start to pull this up, I can either pull up on his neck like that with my wrist bone, or catch the pec, pull him up, and see I've rolled his back up on my thigh a little bit. All the time I keep pulling on this and falling over his shoulder, and then I let go of the leg right there so that I go elbow deep to his knee pit right there, and elbow deep to his neck. Now look, I'm laying on my side, and I got his one leg hooked over that he's laying on his side with. I don't want him to come over top of me. So right away, for just a moment, I put my head right up into his head, right here again. So that's my corner again. I'm posting it right up into his temple. And what I'm trying to do, whether I lock my hands or not, whether I get them locked or not, I'm trying to drive up into him, get my bottom leg out, and now I take my head out. Now, if I had locked this already, right here, now I come up, same thing, but I've already got a lock in here. Now, we can get him whether we lock it or not. It's nice if you can get the cradle, though, because right now, see, my leg is still over. I don't have to keep that leg. I can come out here on my knees and work with a pin, and this is just fine. I just slowly walk toward his head, keep him stretched out here, get my chest up on him, and just adjust his shoulders until I get the pin. But I can also keep the leg in and try to think of it this way. Hold his leg right there, hold his head right there. Make a muscle, both arms, and slowly walk my foot, my toe, back away and start stretching that crotch right there. That all of a sudden tightens things up. And that makes him so that he doesn't fight nearly as well right here. Now look, my head's up. I've adjusted my chest, dropped my ribs down into him. The top of my chest is actually up. And my other leg, my other knee is on the mat, my other toe is on the mat. And I'm just sort of splitting that crotch right there. And then I'm just holding it and letting him be pinned. Sorry to do that, partner. He's a good partner. Okay, that is not a comfortable position to be in that Abe was just in there. Very tough cradle, and we call that the bottom leg cradle. Okay, this is a very important cradle because if you're wrestling somebody with really slippery hips and it was wise to what you're doing with some of your other stuff, you can always mash them down, come here, get them, and pull, and there it is. And there's my lock. Got my head up in here. Now I take my head off, get up, adjust it, and pin it. And I don't care how slippery his hips are, this will affect it. Right here. Okay, very good. Now, next one from down here, we'll do two more down with the legs, is a leg tilt. And the way this works is I reach under the leg just like I was going to do a a crazy cradle, but he could be down like that, or he could be sitting up. He could be sitting up. Doesn't matter. And I'm trying to get this grabbed. And sometimes what I'll have to do is take my other hand and catch and help get that leg, so that I've hooked his leg now with my hand and right around the ankle area. Once I've got that, this lead hand comes back, and I like to hook the bottom pec here. And at this point, my knee is very important again. It's right at that pelvis again. And I don't fall straight back. Don't ever go straight back. But start going diagonally forward again and start pulling up on that ankle and go to your hip and stop on your elbow. Look at how tall I am right here. Lift that leg. Straighten that leg like that. Straighten it out. Get your knee locked. Now right here, I don't figure I'm ever going to pin him. But he can do a lot of turning, and I can still do a lot of arching. And look what I'm doing now. I'm up on that foot. See my thigh underneath this pelvis? I can control this man's hips a little bit. I'm going to score. I'm going to score. I'm not going to pin him, but I'm going to score right here. Then I can put him back down and do some of my other stuff. See? So I got 3 out of that. Okay, so that's our leg tilt. If he keeps his leg way away from you, watch this. Grab your own leg and keep your leg away, and I just start walking. See, and I can bring his leg with me, and I can get out here, and eventually, see, I'll get out here with both hands. And I don't care what he's doing. He can be sitting up or whatever. He's not going to stop me from getting his leg right here. He's just not going to do it. And if he comes up and sits up too much, then I'm going to catch him in a crazy cradle right there. So you better be careful. How are we doing with the tape here? Yeah, let's slide back this way just a tad. Okay. Now, here's one that I just started doing recently. I used to do it coming out of takedowns when I had the leg between my crotch and I was taking a guy down with a single leg. And so now I realize that if we're wrestling here, again, I can press him down, come under that leg again, and then bring your other hand around and come under that leg too. So I'm pulling up with both hands momentarily. Then I want to reach over. So look what I'm doing. First arm goes under, second one, pull up. Now, here. And what I'm doing is grabbing the bottom of that shoe right in the middle. Once I do, I start pulling it out. See how it straightens that out right there when I lock his leg. My foot stays in the crotch. I'll hold right on to the middle of his shoe. Now at this point, he can do all the turning he wants to. I got his leg. And what I'll do is reach down again and start catching that pec under there. And at this point, I've got my knee at the right place. I can start pulling up on a pec, lifting with that other leg. Look what happens. I'm going to score. He's right on my right on my thigh again with his pelvis. Now I'm not going to pin him, but I'm going to get some more points in here. Now if he starts really kicking that leg around, I might get that far leg cradle, that bottom leg cradle that we got before. Adjust my chest up in here and pin him, walk his crotch away with the other leg right there.
So that's a good situation. So look at it once more. I'm just starting to mess with this. And then as we're wrestling, start pulling this up. I don't want to get too deep with this because I've got to get my other arm under there. So I pull up. There we go. There we go. And we pull it out. Okay? Now it depends on the guy. If he's got really long lower legs, maybe you're not going to do this to him. Well, you'd be surprised. Now you can get into this. Okay. Now, that takes care of the leg part of it here, down the waist down. Okay, here we go. We got to do some stuff up above here. One of the easiest things to do is that head and arm, just like we did going into the stride ride. So here we go. Guy's down. A lot of times he'll be posted like this. He'll have that arm there like that. He may be coming up with his head or something. And so you go under that arm very easy, around the neck, and my knee here, first of all, if he's coming up, let's say he's on his elbow, right there. See? Boom, got him, slide the knee through, full back. Now right here, I don't have the stride ride yet. I put my feet together. Why do I do that? I don't have his other leg caught yet. So I just touch my feet, put my head in here, and hold for just a moment. Because he always puts that foot on the mat. Always. And so as soon as I feel him put it on the mat, then that leg goes out to catch that, to trap that leg. And then this leg starts pulling back, and I've got my cutter right here already. So I start cutting. Got to make sure I'm not going to try to choke him. It's going to be on the side of the jaw or side of the neck. And I'm right in here, and I'm just hoping that he's going to come up with one of his hands as far up, and I can start grabbing that and pulling it up. And then I can step over and finish him up in a double grapevine. Right up in here. So that's the head and arm. Now, that's if his shoulders are coming up. Now, let's say Abe is one of my teammates or something, and he's had this a few times, and he's really flat. Got his arms in. There's no head and arm there. Oh, yes, there is. Here's what I do. Take my left hand, post it right next to his head. Got my knee on the mat here. Reach around. I'm going to take my palm and put it where my fingertip is almost down to his ear, sort of touching his ear on that side of his head. And the top of my wrist is on the top of his head. And I start pulling his ear toward what? His shoulder over here, his far shoulder. He's not strong that way. This is not dirty. This does not hurt anybody. But he could be very strong in his neck, but not very strong that way. And see, I had that post there. As soon as I get him up just a little bit, I take my thumb side blade at my wrist, pop him right there in the side of the neck, not in the front of the neck. Pop, and look what's happening here. I can get under there now. See, and I lift him up. Now, I didn't show this earlier. I did a poor job here just a minute ago. I didn't suck this guy up. I should have sucked him up, put my head on him right there. Don't just fall back with him. When you're doing a stride ride, that's okay. You got a little bit different situation. But this right here, no. Pull him up. I got my leg in the crotch. I can control all that. Put my feet together. I'm scoring again. Same old, same old. Okay, so we can dig him out. If he's laying right down flat with his elbows in, we can still get this. This is wonderful. Okay, so that's head and arm. Good, thank you. Now, another possibility here is, and you have to check our penny tape for things, but a lot of times, like let's say he comes up on his elbow, okay, I will reach under, and I've got a facelift here. I'll try to get all the way under and get the side of his head. I got a facelift situation. Or I've got a chicken wing situation. Or I've got a half situation. Or I'll do a facelift just like this, over the arm. Notice my facelift always has the hand on top of the head, forearm up the side of the jaw, muscle underneath his chin. Okay, so I've always got something. I've got especially, he could be on his elbow and I could block that far tricep and come in here and just trap that. I don't have to have a crossface. If he's pushed all the way up, I could block and crossface and catch it. Now, all of these, see, that's starting to get me into a bundle, although it's a loose bundle right now. It doesn't show that it's a bundle, but it could be. Now, all of this stuff is going to be useful when I do a certain thing with my leg. And the certain thing is called a Turk tractor. Turk tractor. And it's my explanation of how the Turk should go when you're in a cross body ride. My knee that's up will end up facing the mat. My hip joint here will end up going in his ribs. My outside hand and knee and foot will be on the mat, and I'll be tractoring around backwards with my hips, pulling his near shoulder down on the mat and making his and walking around with my hips toward his legs. That's the way I'm going to get his shoulders in trouble. So let's just take, for example, this chicken wing. Now, this actually would be called the Jacobson, after a fellow that popularized this. And I learned this from Dan Gable's college coach, Harold Nichols at Iowa State. And he said that this fellow Jacobson was very good with this. And what he did was, as he hooked a chicken wing, he said the most important part of this is to stretch. So you really stretch this up. Then you take this hand that the chicken wing is being applied with, turn it palm toward his shoulder blade and put it right on his back and keep it there for the rest of the move. It may hurt your wrist a little bit, but it'll just be uncomfortable. It's very important that you keep it there because it embellishes the move. So as I stretch up, now I rotate my palm toward his shoulder blade, put it on his blade, make a muscle right there. Now I'll be going into this Turk situation. My elbow is going to pass his head as he starts to go down toward his back. My knee will become buried. It's going to go down toward the mat. My heel and the bottom of my foot are going to raise. And so as he falls, slow motion, see my knee goes down. I'm going to hook up, and my hip joint is into his ribs. My bottom of my foot is right toward the ceiling. Now go to your side a little bit there, Dave. Okay, now right here, I'm going to keep my arch, keep my head and shoulders always as high up as possible. I keep adjusting, so I want my shoulders sort of over his shoulder. And my Turk motion is going to be backwards and pulling his near shoulder down. And this works for all of the arm holds here with this Turk. And I keep this, I don't grapevine my leg. I just keep it bent and up and start bringing him around. Now, for him to get out, he's going to have to kick over my foot. And so as he does, I don't let him get over right away. But finally he kicks extra hard and I come across him with my foot. Inside of my foot hits the mat. We call that making thunder. And as I draw my heels toward his buttocks, I suck in my ear, get my belly over on him, touch my feet together. Now I got a choice right here. I could keep a hold of this and do a double grapevine and try to pin him right there, which is a pretty good hold. Or I can let it go and do our regular stuff under the head, under the neck. But I'm going into that double grapevine. That's the way I want to pin him. Now, this Jacobson is a little different from the other arm holds here that we're going to do because it does have enough power to where I literally could pin him with that without letting go of it, and I could even take my legs out. Now remember, once we get started with facelift, half, chicken wing, arm bundles, anything like that, we could take our leg out, jump over to the side and facing, and go ahead and do our regular facelift pin, half Nelson pin, so on and so forth, arm bundle pin. So don't forget that we can do that. Now, let me just show you what I mean about this one. As I hook this, I'm going to stretch it up, rotate my hand, make a muscle, elbow goes behind the head, and as I start going here, let's say I've got him down already, we've rotated a bunch, I'll just kick my leg out of here, come over, and I can just hold this and keep making a muscle, and my lead knee goes up into his armpit like that, and I can just drop my hips down, squeeze, and pin him right here. And believe me, if this is in here properly, you could pin a guy right here, and notice I'm posted over here with my one hand. So I don't need anything else, just that tight arm hold on this thing called the Jacobson. Okay, now here's how to drill
the tractor, the Turk tractor here. What's our time getting to be here, Abe?
Exactly 1 hour.
All right, I'm just a little bit over, not too bad. Okay, here we go. Here's how to teach it. We're going to be having a guy here, and the partner is not going to go 100%. He's going to go like maybe 30%, something like that at the beginning. And the guy in my position is going to be just putting his hands on the mat. This guy can do nothing more than to try to swing his hips around and swim around this guy's leg and get behind him. That's all he can do. Can't do anything else. I cannot do anything with my hands. They're just going to be on the mat. So as I hook this in, here's my hands, and we would start in this position. And then when we start going, that guy's just going maybe 30%, something like that, not very much at the beginning. And I'm going to be lifting, turning my hip joint into it. And let's just go around for just a second here. See, he's trying to get up and spin his hips around. And if he can get all the way around, then that's what he wants to do. And I'm trying to stay up in here, up in here, up in here, up in here all the time. And trying to make him feel that hip joint in there. And my hands can circle, and I move on my foot and my knee, and I keep arching like that. If he starts to get up, I really got to arch and lift his hips and slide his hips. Then as you get better and better, then the guy can go 50%, 60, 70, 80%, that type of thing. Now, 100%, that guy could probably get around if he's your size. But if you do this then with a smaller person for a drill, and keep your hands on the mat and tell them they can go 100%, that's good for you also. So you get used to lifting. Even though it's a smaller person, they can go 100% trying to swing those hips around there. And they've got a little more speed probably than you do. So that's good. That's a good drill. Okay, is that the camera? Yeah. Okay. Now, that's how we get good with the Turk tractor. And all of those things that I mentioned, the facelifts and all that kind of stuff, we can do with that. I'll just do a facelift real quick. I'm in here, he's turned down, and I catch, like I catch a facelift right here. I'm not under the arm, I'm just over it right here. Okay, actually I don't have a good angle right now, so I'm going to go into what we call the claw, where I reach under and put my fingers down his spine. I lift my elbow up under his chin. I'm not choking him, but it looks like I might be because of the way the arm goes around the neck from the stands, or maybe even the referee thinks it. So we can't be here long, even though we know we're not choking the guy. We move right off of that as soon as we can. As soon as I get his chin up, now I go into the facelift right here. And I would have been grapevining this, arching this, and this is my Turk tractor situation right here. Okay, now at this point, I don't want to get laying down. I always want to stay up here, and then if he's trying to kick and get out of there, then I'm going to be coming across. Then the rest is history at that point. So I can use that way. Half Nelson, arm bundle, those types of things. Okay, one last thing I want to show from this catbird, and that is the arm whip. And the arm whip is just a little bit different psychology here, and that is anytime I can get under here and get here on top. So I go under, put my hand on his shoulder, and then the other hand goes right on top. What I'm going to try to do is lift my elbow, throw it right past his head. Since I'm throwing with both arms, I can do this. And I throw it right past his head, and both forearms are going down on the mat, and my head is going toward the mat. I'm throwing my whole body toward the mat. Now, I don't like to do this, but it'll just be for a moment. So I really pop it through here. And when I do that, this leg steps out of his crotch. I use the front of my thigh and bang him right across the chest. Because he may be feeling like he could swim out around me. But boom, right there. I come right with the front of my thigh and pop him right on the chest. My forearms are on the mat. Now I push myself up and over onto him. This leg turns down, heels dig in, and here we are. We're in our double grapevine situation. All this arm whip is meant to do is to
toss him to his back so that we can adjust and come up into the double grapevine. So we're wrestling in here, wrestling, and got him caught, wham, right there. I throw it, wham, pop, right there with my thigh in the chest, and come back around on top. I don't try to hold on to that arm or anything. I touch my feet together. Guy's in trouble. Okay, thank you, Abe. Now, this whole business is a safe way of wrestling. You haven't seen any guillotine done here, any splits done here. I do them once in a while, hardly, almost never would I do it. I'd be more likely to do the splits before the guillotine. Those put you on the wrong side of the guy, in my opinion. They put you on your hip. Everybody practices against those anyway. You're not going to beat most good people with those. So that's why I sort of stay away from those. And I would prefer doing this stuff here. It's very safe. Now, we have to, now that we've done some of these, we have to talk about breaking down again when the guy's up on his base. So if we already had the leg in, and we'll face the camera here, and I'm up here, and I had the leg in, and somehow this guy gets up to his base. Here's a couple more that you can do. Number one is I can pull this ankle out to the side, his far ankle, and as I do, my leg that I'm using, my cross-body leg, is over his lower leg. My foot's over his lower leg. I'm going to make that knee twist toward his other knee. And I'm going to pull this other leg out. And some guys like to step in here and actually get under it with their own foot and do it. But I just sort of like to pull it out and bust him down that way. Get a good hip action into it. Now, again, I'm always going to lift my foot high, rotate, cross over. Here I am up into the catbird seat. Now, that's one that I don't use as much as this next one. Actually, I try to keep them on the mat so that they never get up to their hands and knees. But I will either do the stretcher one that we did earlier or this one. If they ever come up, I'll do this one a lot. And that is, I'll lean way over them. And now that we've done the crazy cradle, watch how this sets the crazy cradle up. I put both feet on the mat. I stretch way out over his shoulder, not sideways, but diagonally over his shoulder, so his weight's going toward his hand and on his knee. And they oftentimes feel like they should sit through. And if they don't, I'm going to end up pushing and throwing my leg through anyway. And I force him to fall and turn. Now, he's in position for the catbird because I did two things as I came around. Three things. One is I used my hand and knee and foot to post. Number two, while I was doing that, my right leg, that's my catbird seat leg, was pointing my foot down on the mat, putting it right down to the mat here, already on the way over. And number three, I had to rotate my head and shoulders over him. I didn't grab him until I rotated. Okay, let's go back up and see how that looks. Let's see, where is that camera? Over here?
Yep.
Okay, so I'm in here, and somehow this guy gets up. Now notice, before we finish this, my arm position here. I got a neck pry here, where I can pry up under here. I've got an elbow in the back of the armpit here. Notice that I'm not dangling my arm for him to grab. It's always up here, can't grab it. Neck pry up here, and sometimes just pushing on the head. But I never let him grab my arm any way, any dangly way. No good. Don't let that happen. Okay, so I'm already up here. I'm going to start pushing. See, and I can push with both feet and just sort of launch myself. Really stretch out, push hard, throw the leg. See, I reach for the mat, put my foot on the mat over here, rotate it up, there he is. And it is so quick that at first they'll sit up before you're even ready for it. So you have to practice it a few times to be able to get your foot on the mat, rotate, and be ready for that crazy cradle. But boy, oh boy, is it a wonderful, wonderful way to set up the crazy cradle. They all buy into it. They all buy into it. It's great. Okay, those are the main ways if a guy's on his base. I have one other way that if we get time to do the splits, Abe's hoping we won't. But if we do, then I'll show you that other way of breaking a guy down and going right into the splits if he happened to be up on his base. Okay, how's our time?
An hour 10.
All right, we have to address something called stretch and label. Stretch and label is one of the most important things about using the legs if you happen to be rolling around with the legs, if you happen to get out of that catbird seat a little bit. And so the way it's going to go is, let's turn this way sideways to the camera, and come down on your side over here. I'm in this position, and something happens where I don't do a good job, or he just is quick, or something. Somehow he scissors me, and I start to fall over. This is not good, because now I'm starting to fall over to the side that I would be on if I were doing guillotine and splits and stuff. And that's not a good situation with my hips down. But let's say it happens. So I got to know how to fight this. I got to know how to deal with this. So he's hipping into me. I'm falling. My left, in this case, my right leg is in. My left hand now, I'm posting with my right hand. My left hand is going to come. He's continuing to turn. It's going to catch under his armpit here, right under his armpit, and grabbing his shoulder. So left hand of mine under his left arm. I fall back. Now this is the stretch part. This is called stretch and label. So as I stretch him back, now I label it. And that's going to be with a cross face right across his, just under his cheekbone here with my wrist bone. And you're not trying to blood anybody, not trying to hurt anybody, but you got to pop him a little bit to get him to turn. And notice my leg. It's just soft in there. It's just laying in there. As we fall over, this arm that had pulled under and stretched him has to get out of there. So we're going to proceed on over, and I'm going to stop myself right here. And I already am hooking my foot around for the catbird seat, and I come back up and rotate up into this thing here. Okay, let's go way down here. The way to practice this is, are we sort of in the middle of this here?
Yeah.
Middle of the mat, okay? Okay. All right. We're going to come toward the camera, and the way to do it, every day, go up and down the mat doing this one time. And that's good enough. And you'll get very, very good at this in a short period of time, and it'll save your cookies sometime. And the way you work it is, one guy rolls, you roll here, you hook, stretch, label, come here, stop right here, and start to cross your leg over. That's good enough. Then you uncross it, roll again, hook, label, and you do the same thing. So stretch, label, and keep going. Now, go across the mat and back, and then the other guy can do it across the mat and back. Doesn't take long to do it, and by golly, the stretch and label will save you. Now, I just want to show something here. This can come into effect in scramble situations. For example, let's say that I was down, or we were doing a takedown or something, and somehow the arm got through here, and I get caught right here. Now, there's a couple ways to handle this. I slipped a leg in. Now, there's no points being, let's say this is on a takedown deal. Okay? I need to get control so that the referee knows that I got control. Now, I could possibly post, catch at the armpit, catch in the hip joint, and try to pull myself up here. And there it is. There's my points right here. But let's say that I can't. Let's say it's butts up in the air too much or something. So what I do is hook the hip joint, pull him into my lap, pull him right back into my lap, see? Now look where his head is all of a sudden. His head's coming up, head and shoulders are coming up. I pull his hips down into my lap. There's my label right there. See, and here's my stretch right there. And sometimes I don't even have to grab the stretch. I'll just label him and take him over right there if I get his head up good. Now I score. I came out of a bad situation, right? Let's go back and look at that again. Let's say that Abe's got my leg, all right? And I'm in this deal here. Okay, so I hook my leg in, all right? And all of a sudden, I start pulling his hips down. If he comes up enough, Boom, right there it is. I put my leg in right now. I've got my leg in and his arm is trapped and I'm in a catbird seat almost right here. See, I could actually start working on him right now to try to get some points. And his arm is trapped. It's still around my leg. I could sit up. See, and he'll pull it out. He always pulls it out right there. Now I'm in a catbird seat. Okay? Let's look at this again by standing. I'm not saying that you want to feed a guy your leg or anything. But let's say that Abe is starting to attack my leg here. Okay? And at this point, you know, I maybe could push his shoulder. He's got a nice shoulder in there right now. But maybe I can get him over here. See, we fall down like this. Okay? There's no takedown yet. So I start to hook my leg in right now. See his hip. I'm going to start pulling his hip down. Here we go. There's my label. Changed everything. Otherwise, I would have lost that takedown. Now I'm okay. Okay, and he's in trouble. I'm going to score some more on him maybe. Okay, so I'm just saying that the stretch and label concept can be very useful. I've gotten many takedowns because of that, and even some reversals that have been scramble situations. Very, very useful. Pull his hips into your lap, cross-face him over, and throw the leg in as you're doing it. Okay, step through Turk. Step through Turk. I do it a little bit differently than some people do. And first of all, we got to define what it is, and that is, if I lift the near leg in any way, shape, or form, whether he's on his base or down here, roll over to your side for me, and get this up and step across his leg, and at least try to go knee high up to the back of his knee. Now, I'm not in the Turk yet, but as I come down to my knee, and notice I didn't try to pull my leg through, I just came forward on my knee. Now my leg gets hooked. Now I've got the Turk. Now, there's different philosophies of how to use this. I like to be very active with it. I don't want to just freeze and stay here and try to score right here and never get a pin. I want to work this into a pin situation. And so what I like to do, I know that he's probably going to be turning, and so I've got this Turk situation. I like to drop my chest back and try to take the top of my chest and go into his ribs and start dragging his knee. Start dragging his knee. I'm walking on my knees. I'm circling, and I start looking to see what I can get. Now, it just depends. A lot of times I favor this facelift right here, or to start with that claw, start putting his head up, and then go to the facelift right here. Now, again, I've got a post. I don't want that arm under his back. Even though I got a facelift, I got to have my balance, and so I suck my air in, drop it back. I'm always adjusting my chest, trying to make his ear touch his shoulder over here, and I just keep dragging his leg, dragging his leg. I could also take my hand and block on the mat, so now my bicep is blocking the inside of my his thigh, my bicep and my shoulder, and as I drag his leg, all of a sudden he comes to a halt because his legs won't move anymore. So I've got him all split out here. Now I may not pin him right here, but by golly, I'm going to hold him for a while, and I'm going to score at least 3. So this is like with the facelift. Where's the camera here, Mr. Abe?
Right.
This way?
Nope.
Okay, good. Okay. So here's another possibility. Chicken wing, same story. Put that palm on the back of the shoulder and just start taking the elbow toward his head. Drag that leg again, see? If I want to block inside, there it is again, right there. Okay? If I want to pick up on this leg like this, then I can pull it up toward his head, but you got to be careful you don't want to fall over here. So I can pull it up toward his head a little bit. Okay, I usually don't. I usually just block in here and make it go like that. Okay. I like to drag that leg, knee to knee. Okay. Now, that was a chicken wing. Can we do with a half? Sure, we can start doing the same thing with a half. Can we, go ahead and turn down again, can we get a arm bundle? Sure we can. See, come around, and whenever I turn his face up, then I switch off to that facelift again. That's a favorite, right there. So we've got him in good shape here. Now, could we take the leg out and just go ahead and finish with a facelift and bundle or a half? Yes.
So you don't have to keep this leg here, but it really is a nice situation. Anytime we can get his inside leg up. Now how can we do that? Okay, let's turn back and I'll tell you what. Let's stay just like we're. I've got an arm bar here, and I'm blocking with my hand on his bicep or with my head, either way. And I drop my shoulder back by the base of his spine, and I start driving my shoulder up, which puts a lot of pressure up toward his head. At this point, I can always take my hand, reach down, and grab just below his kneecap, and there's space there to pick that up. So as I'm driving pressure up, it allows me to pick that up and slide my bottom leg underneath his thigh. I'm sitting on my hip. Now, I readjust. I still have an arm bar. I readjust again, push again, and bring my other thigh up under that, past his knee, get up, and start walking over his leg. There's my step over right there. I'm getting into the step through Turk right now. So I post, and there's my Turk right there. And I adjust my chest, and here we start going again. Now, if I want to go into what we call split crotch, I've got this leg hooked. I'm inside. I'll just lean sideways and bring my other knee in. See, I'm laying on his one leg. My other knee goes in, and I start splitting his crotch right here, nice and wide. Now, this is a great situation. I take my one hand and get his top shoulder. I could even get under with both arms and start putting that top shoulder down. Let's come back this way here. It takes a little space. Okay, so I've got his crotch split out. I start taking him over here. Now, once I get this shoulder down to here, I put my head right here. I can start face lifting, and I could also step up with this other leg right here. So the side that I face lift with my left hand, I also can step up with the left leg. But you never step up with both legs, just one. Okay? So I can start pinning that guy right there in the split crotch. Okay? I got into that because I did the step through Turk first. Then I just laid on my side, slid the other knee in, split him, and then went up and started attacking his shoulders. So that's a very nice way to do that. Okay, so that's a good thing out of an arm bar right there. Now let's say he's up on his base. Come on up in here. And let's say that I snatch this leg up in here and put it on the table. Okay, right here's the potential for step through Turk. Right there. Right there it is. I post it up, and now I'm in business again. I can start working on it right now. Facelift, claw, whatever. That's a great situation. Okay, so there's a couple ways right there to start getting to the step through Turk. If I do takedowns, like I said, I'm up here, I've done an arm drag, let's say, and I'm going to finish with a high finish. So he starts to run away, and I pick this, and we're hopping around. There's a step through Turk. If I take him down, I'll come down on the mat in a step through Turk position right there. So the way it would go is I drag him, just go ahead and start to run away from it. Just boom, right there it is. I've got this leg. Stay right up, you don't have to fall. And then right here, at any point, I could catch him, step through Turk. I'm the man right there. Okay, so that's a little bit of an idea of how we can keep getting into that. Okay, is the camera over here?
Yep.
Okay, now, what's our time?
Hour 24.
All right. Now, one last little thing about this step through Turk. Once in a while, you're going to wrestle a guy that's really got those slippery hips, really, really tough. Okay, so let me see. Camera's here? Right there. Okay, let's turn around this way now, sideways. And lay right down there, and I'm going to lift this leg and get a step through Turk. So face me here. There we go. Now, I'm in here. And this is one of those guys that's got those real slippery hips, really hard to hold on to. And what he's trying to do is to get his top leg through. Okay, so we know that if we block in here, that'll help that. That'll take care of that pretty good. But there's something else we can do too. We can reach back and pick up his ankle on the leg that we've hooked in the step through Turk. We can hold on to that. Now, we're just not going to you know, we could go ahead and work on things up here with this, and that would ensure that he's not going to get away from us. But I like to do this. Let's say he's real flexible and he's turned way down, way down. What we do is catch this and start turning our ribs sideways, right here. Post your foot on a mat, start lifting this up and get your other thigh under there and start working like this. Start walking around. And I like to get up behind his armpit, behind his arm, and here he's going to start turning, right here. And I'm just tractoring around, tractoring around. At any point, we can stop and post right here. And now he's in trouble. He's trying to get back now, but I can trap that shoulder or whatever. So let's look at it once more here. I've got this. Let's see, my knee's in there already. All right, and he's turned way down. So all of a sudden I start turning, walk, walk, walk. And sometimes you can actually lift this up, get your thigh under there like that. Now there's a reverse bear. If I just put my arm under there, push him off, let him go, lock it up, there's my pin, right there. It's a great way to get in a reverse bear hug. Okay, where's the camera now? Sure it is. Now, one thing that I didn't do, and this isn't fun for the bottom guy here, so I'm going to take it real slow. I think Abe knows what it's going to be. It's going to be the bottom leg cradle. And it's a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful pin. Everybody can learn to do this. But it's the bottom leg cradle out of the step through Turk. So, here we are. We already did a bottom leg cradle out of the catbird seat. But here we go. Bottom leg cradle. I post, and I just catch his head like this. I just want to hold on to his head. I could even have it posted here if I wanted to. And I put my forehead right in his hip joint, post, and start dragging and dragging. The key is I can't let his head and shoulders slide. So I got to keep pulling on this or post or something. And as I drag this, it's getting closer and closer to his head. Closer and closer to his head. Now at this point, my head was in that hip joint right there. There's going to be some point here where I feel like I can take my one hand and run it through and lock up. All right? Abe, go ahead and get your arms out of there. I want to give Abe as much space as I can here. Okay, so once I get this locked up, now I pull my head out and lay my shoulder in his hip joint, fall sideways, and get my other leg behind me, right here. Now, at this point, once I get both legs in, I'm going to release a little bit because of the pressure, but I'm just going to walk up, and I would do like a forehead bridge right here. And that's going to be a pin. I would have kept my hands locked in the match, and that's a pin. That's automatic. It will be a pin. Okay? Now, it's really easy if you start playing with it. Where's my tape here? Up here? Up here. Really easy to start getting that because of the fact that you can drag that leg, you can post the other leg out, and walk it closer and closer to his head, and then reach under and lock it. Once you lock it, pull your head out of the hip joint, lay your shoulder in the hip joint, fall sideways, bring your one knee in behind his foot, lift up, and just walk around and do a front bridge on your forehead, and he's pinned. And he wants to be pinned. He wants to be pinned. So this is a heck of a deal, and I just wish more guys would do it. One of my boys started doing this in 7th grade, and he just unbelievable. He just totally annihilated some pretty good kids actually with this. Okay, all right, that's enough for the step through Turk stuff. So the next thing we got to think about, I believe, is counters. I think that's. Let me see here. Yeah, I think we got to go into counters. And what's our time here, Mr. Abe?
Hour 29.
All right. So we got about half an hour to do some counters. Now, countering the both legs being put in is one of the easiest things to do that there is. I want you to look at me for a second here. When if I go down with my thighs, arch my back, and roll up
up on my chest, back and forth like that. That's the kind of motion I'd sort of like to have if a guy's starting to put his legs on me. I will throw myself forward, drop my arms inside like that, and sort of roll up my chest to my face, roll up my forearms to my face. And as I do, I will bring one leg up. Now, if he doesn't have a half Nelson on me at all, I can bring either leg I want to up. Doesn't matter. But as I'm going down, I'm going to roll up toward my face, bring that thigh up, and throw it over all in one motion. So it comes up and over with my other leg. So if he had both legs around me, now I've got both legs laying over one of his legs. Now look at my face. I'm going to curl up like a jackknife. My face is going to go down toward his foot. And I'm going to take my top hand and grab the very bottom of his foot, right in the middle, just like that, except it'll be his foot. And I put my face right down here by the smelly shoe, right by the laces. And I start pushing with this hand, lifting both the foot and my head up, my shoulders up. I want to stay right by his shoe because this is going to protect me from getting hit in the face with cross faces. Sometimes those can be pretty dangerous. I don't want to start bleeding. I might lose the match. So right here, I've got that right there. Once I'm pushed up and set up, then I take this hand, bring it inside, so that whenever I grab from the inside, I'm always grabbing like this on the bottoms of the feet inside. Sometimes you can use your elbows on the shins if you want. I don't usually do it, but it's doable for a little more pressure. So I'm always grabbing in like that, never grabbing around outside. And then the other grab is cross grab like that. Cross-handed would grab like that. So this is the way it always is. Never reach around the legs. Always inside or always across like that. So I've shown how I would get up to this position. And that's the most important thing. Once we get up to this position, holding his foot and changing, we got a multitude of things to do to reverse him, to catch him on his back, to pin him, to get away from an escape. Just lots of good stuff. But it's getting there. So remember, if both legs are being put in, as fast as possible, don't fight it. Throw yourself down, pull your arms in, rock up, throw a leg over with the other, and then fold up like a jackknife. Get your face right down here by a shoe, cross grab it, start pushing up with your free hand, with your bottom hand, get it right up here by your face, then reach inside, and then we'll go. See, if he's trying to get his other leg in, by the way, I didn't mention that, he might be trying to hook his other leg over, then you have prevented it right there. He can't get that other leg in. So you got him in trouble right now. Okay. Here we go. Mr. Abe, go ahead. You put both legs on. He's going to have both legs in, and before I fight, I'm going to fall. I'm definitely not going to fight. And Abe, remember, don't put your arms under. You're going to be going out with your arms right there. So as I go down, I'm throwing up and over, right here, up and over. And he falls to his hip. My face goes down. I grab the bottom of a shoe, push myself up, change hands. Now, Abe has done a little bit of a crab here, which was one of the best things he could have done. The problem is, I got a free leg. I'm glad you did that. This is good. Okay, how are we doing here? We're good. Okay. You know, he's doing one of the best things he could do right now with that leg. But because I have a free leg here, and now I'm okay with this, once I get in here, I can step right on that. And I can either make both legs go over, see how they're going to travel over, or step on it and get it down in here. Okay, so let's look at it once more. Abe, you do it to me. You get on your base and face the camera. And I'm going to be here. And what's going to happen is when he feels me start to come in, he's going to throw himself forward and throw one leg up and over. He's going to keep his face right down by the mat, cross-hand it with his left hand, push up, Keep it right by your face. There you go. Now once he's up, then he can take the other hand, come inside, and grab in the center of that shoe, and life is good. You can let go of that. And now I'm over with this leg. If he had kept this leg up, then I couldn't have been over with it. And if I tried to, can the camera see us? Let's turn a little bit. And if I tried to, so if he'd have kept that leg up, say, he would have blocked me. And of course, once he has it in this hand, he can always take this hand and grab inside there and have both feet. Okay, I'm not good right now. Or if I tried crabbing, like Abe was doing, he could use his other foot to step on me and decide where he wanted to go with his legs, right there. So life is very good. And if I start cross-facing him now, all he's got to do is turn right over to his shoulder, throw his legs over, and come right out the back door, because he's got my foot in bad position right there. So he's going to score even if I cross-face him right there. And I didn't mention it, sit right in here. Once, see, he protected himself by keeping this up by his face all the way up. But once he pulls that off and changes hands, he should still keep his face down. So I still can't get much on him right here. Okay, now I'm going to leave Abe in that position for a moment because, again, he could have both feet in his hands here. Go ahead. And he could use his elbows into my shins if I wanted to, and that influences me a little bit. But remember this. For me to control him with my legs, I need his hips in my lap. If he gets his hips away from me, he's golden. So what did he just do? He dug his feet in the mat, pulled his hips down toward his shoes. Just a few inches makes a world of difference. Now right now, he could go either direction he wants to. Let's go this way over here. And he's going to reverse. He could have done the same thing in the other direction. So he comes out the back door in that situation. Okay, let's say that he's just got one shoe. Okay, and again, he digs his feet in, puts himself down. Okay, he could go the same way, or he could keep his elbow in, turn back this way, and come under that one too. So it doesn't really matter. Let's get back in. Where are we here?
Yep, it is right here.
Okay, thank you. There's the camera.
Yep.
Now, let's do a couple more here, Mr. Abe. He's in here, and let's say that I've got, I somehow, he's got my foot, and I somehow have gotten in here and starting to get him in trouble here. Okay, I've got a sort of a forced half type thing. What he does is change hands back on that foot and take your arm that I've encircled and reach right back and grab my head right over top. There it is. Now let's turn so they can see. When he comes back, he's going to catch right here, and see, I have the half on him. And he's going to pull this right in, and he's going to dig his feet in and drive my shoulder and head right down to the mat, push right at my head, and he keeps that foot in his hand, and he continues to walk right around and pulls to my head, and he pins it. Come on around a little bit more. Right there. Right there. There's a pin. Okay. That's called answer the phone. It's like you're talking on the telephone. Hello, you know. But notice he's going to put his head right to it. If he can pull me down so my neck is over his shoulder, he never lets go of the middle of that foot. Now make sure we always hold the middle of it, not the toe, because that'll be a penalty. And right here, he just starts walking in a circle, gets me to the mat, drives me to the mat. Now he starts circling. Now he starts circling. And there's the pin right there. We want to answer the phone and pin these guys. How did it happen? I had a forced half. Right here. I had a forced half. And the arm that I'm trying to crank on is the one that you have to reach with. So you reach right back through it. There it is. Quickly. Drive with your feet. There it is. See, I still got my half. My hands are trapped. Okay. Now this kind of thing can also happen out of, well, let's do another one here before we leave this. Okay. Let's say that, actually, we'll go into the single leg. We'll go into the cross body
we're setting up inside the legs. Okay, so we've taken, oh, I know. Oh, Ray, I almost forgot. Come back here, I apologize. I'm going to put both legs on you again. And you're just going to be laying down, facing the camera. I'm sorry. I got both legs in here. And I'm putting on a half. Now, this isn't smart, but I'm doing this right here. I'm cranking. You got to know which way to throw now. Before it didn't matter because I didn't have an arm trapped, a half. But now it matters. You have to throw the leg that's away from the half side toward the half. So you've got to throw into the half. In other words, I've got the right hand and the half. He's got to take his left leg. And to do this, push with your toes forward for a moment. Push forward. Pinch your arm in and throw your left leg. And now just curl up and do the same thing. Because I will fall. I will fall. Okay, here it is again. Okay, I'm in here and I'm cranking with this right hand. I'm cranking. Push forward, pinch in, and throw, and I'll fall. Doesn't feel like it's going to happen, but it happens. And he would continue right on down with his face. Pull that up, keep it right by your face, change hands, and now we're in business here. Even if I go here, see now he'll just roll with that. And he's going to score. He'll come right out the back door like that. Very good. Okay. Now, where is it? All right. Okay. There's the bar. Okay, there's the camera. Now, as we do this next one here, I want you to think about the fact, okay, we got a single leg in. Most guys are going to use their left leg, so I'm going to use I'm going to have Abe put his left leg in and a cross body. Most guys will not do catbird, so we're not going to worry about that. We're just going to have the left leg in. How's our time?
Hour 42.
Okay, here we go. He's going to put that left leg on right now. And it's hooked around, and anytime I feel the leg coming in, whether I'm up on my base or whether I'm already down, I'm going to try to hip in to his crotch and make his butt go on the mat. What I've got to be careful about is my arms and hands. If I'm up on my base and he's up in here, I can really hip him good. Make sure you glue your hands to the mat and do not, I repeat, do not take him off the mat until his leg is free. Your leg is free. If you do, you're going to be sorry against a good leg man. Trust me. Okay, so as I hip into him, watch, my outside knee is going to slide toward my inside knee. I'm going to turn so they can see this. My foot is going to lift up and go behind his shoe right there. That's going to happen while I'm hipping into it. My hands stay on the mat. I'm hipping into him. I slide in. My foot goes up. I'm behind his shoe when he lands on his butt right now. My knee is up. At this point, I can take his leg off of me easily. Look at my hands. Haven't moved him. Got to keep him here. If I get too excited and start coming down with my hands right now, he's going to hook my arm with both. Yeah, that's it. And pull it back. Stretch me out. And I'll never, I'm going to be in trouble. If he's a good leg man, he's going to get me in all kinds of bad stuff right there, including getting my ribs hurt. So, hands stay here. Now, all I do is I sort of rotate the leg that he's got hooked. My instep, my laces are right under his shoe. I lift and step it way out there like that. It's just so easy, he cannot stop me. My hands are still on the mat. Soon as that happens, now my top hand can move and grab the bottom of that shoe. Keep my face down, and I've got all kinds of choices. One choice is the foot that I just stepped out here with, if I've got pretty active hips, I can pop it way high. I got to get way up off of him. I got to get some space, pop my hips way up, and step back across. Right here. Now we got big time going. We're going to pin it. Okay. You don't have to keep the bottom of the foot either. Could have gone into a bear hug or something. Reverse bear. Okay, so he's got his leg in. Left leg is in. Immediately, I'm going to hip into him. And as I hip into him, my foot goes over. My hands stay on the mat. I step it out. I start pulling this up. But actually, the one I just showed you, I don't even have to pull that up. I can keep my hands right here. If I want to go for the one that I just showed, put that leg back here. I got ahead of myself, okay? If I want to do that, I just step out, put my weight on that, and step back across it. But I've got to get my hips up real quick. Now, if he's a good leg man, that's going to be hard to do. He's gonna pinch me, and it's going to be very difficult for me to do that on him. He's going to hold on to my hips. Now, let's turn a little bit this way. I want him to see the other way that we do the, answer the phone. If he's a poor leg man, he's going to be on this elbow right here, and his head's going to be there. And so as I get this and start to lift it, there's the phone right there. Answer the phone, hold it in this hand, and let's turn it a little bit more this way so I can see. And I'm going to drive my head into his, drive his head to the mat, keep a hold of this, walk in a circle, get up on my toes, pin him right here. Okay, so I'm going to do that one. Now, that's if his head's here. Now I had a hold of this when I did that. Okay, now, if he's a really good guy, and I've lifted this up, he's going to have his head over here. He's going to be trying to do a force half or something, pinching me. And that's where we push all the way up, change hands, and reach through that again, like he did earlier. Except this time I got the other leg in my hand, dig my feet in, drive my head to his hand, keep a hold of that, pull it around, pin it right there. So we're trying to pin his head to the mat, and we've got our head right there with him. Okay? That one right there is a killer for guys who are good leg wrestlers. Put your leg on again. Guys that are good leg wrestlers will cramp up on you right here. And as I start to pull this up, he'll be right here. Change, catch right there, bridge into him, pull it around, pin him right there. Keep the bottom of his shoe if you can. Okay, that's a killer. Okay, now, that's the camera. Okay, let's see here. I've done those. I think we've done about all we need to do right here. Always pulling your hips down will save you no matter what. So you can just go either direction you want to go once you pull your hips down. Oh, I know. Okay, Abe, come on in here and put your legs around. If I'm already into this position, let's say, and I'm working in here, and I slide my hips down, here's the surprise. As I pull my hips down, I'm going to let go of my hands, or let go of the feet, and reach back and catch him. See, I'm laying right down here. Now, if his legs stay caught, I don't care. I don't care. If just one of them stays caught, I always turn toward that one. I always turn toward that one. Okay? That's the easier way to go. And so I'm down here, and the back of my head is starting to push up under his ribs. I'm pulling with both hands on his neck, and I'm driving and turning. And at this point, I'll come out. I won't necessarily keep his legs. Sometimes I do. If his other leg got caught, he may actually fold right over and stand on his shoulders here. So I usually try to turn the way that the one leg is in, instead of turning away from it. But you can turn either way. Doesn't matter. Okay, so I'm down in here. Go ahead and put that leg in. See, I could turn this way, and maybe we'll keep that leg caught. And I'm driving down, and I can actually stand up and stand him on his shoulders right there. I won't do it to him, but that can happen. Now, here's a neat thing. Let's say that I do that, and I reach back for him, and he avoids me right there. He's got to really pull his head back to do that. So if he avoids me, he's also giving me space to turn again. So I've got him in trouble again. So that is just a real surprise right there, to lean back like that and grab. Okay, what time is it now?
Hour 49.
Okay, now if the guy has, let's see, we've already taken care of okay, here's a little something. Go ahead and put your leg in again. Once in a while, I've had guys who would figure for that leg. He would take his left leg and try to put it behind his other leg. And so that if you hip him, right here, I can't get my foot in there to peel that off. You won't find that very often. But the trick there is, see my hands stay on the mat. He can't stop me from coming back up. If I come back up, he's going to come back up with me usually. Half the time he lets go of his figure four, see? And what I found is, I can keep coming back to my knees, and if he maintains the figure four, I just pop him real hard again. I'm popping into his crotch. I'm making his hips go down. And usually it only takes a couple, 3 pops, and he decides that he doesn't want to keep those legs figure four again. So I just keep coming back up and popping him down, back up, popping him down. And I know Abe's not used to doing that figure four business, and he shouldn't. He should not have it figure four. But if they do, that's how you can break it open. And usually what happens is if they figure four, if I really pop them one good time, I can pop that foot right in there. It pops out and they come out. No more than 2 or 3 times, and you'll sell them on the idea that they really don't want to have their legs figure four because you keep beating them up by popping them down in their rear. Okay, now, if he's got me caught in a Turk situation, okay, let's have, we'll do it this way. I'm laying down here and he's got his left leg yet, and he's trying to Turk me here. And let's say he's got my arm trapped here, like this. What I'll do to prevent from being scored on right away, till I can get my legs free, is to take my arm and pull it back so my elbow's sticking through. Right here. So he's trying, most guys are just trying to turn me forward. They're not dragging me backwards like I do. Okay? So right here, I can prevent myself from turning it up. Then what I try to do, most guys make a mistake of grapevining that leg. So I bend my bottom knee like that, pull that leg across, take my bottom foot, reach up behind the shoe, take it off. Right there. Now he's still got a chicken wing on. So I got to be careful about how things go right here. Depending on how he starts reacting. If he jumps around behind me, go ahead and jump around behind me. I got to try to sit up. And if I can sit up and turn, I've sort of got an arm drag thing going here. We're going to have a scramble going right there. Okay, so if he starts to jump behind me, I got to get my shoulders up real quick, once I peel this leg off. Otherwise, if he's just sort of hanging, I might bring my knee through here, underneath his, get my hips up and pull that down, and then go for his head up here and try to catch him on his back. That's sort of, it's hard to say if I can get his hips up in the air. The third possibility would be, go ahead and hook that leg again. There we go. Okay, I'm in here, I peel that off. Now at this point, I'm going to tractor backwards. I'm going to hip heist backwards. See how I hip heisted? Back into here. Now, if he makes a mistake of trying to take this leg and throw it over my leg again, now I push forward. See, a lot of times forward is the way to go. I push forward and boy, he's in trouble now. Big trouble. So again, it sort of depends on how he's functioning up on top as to what we're going to do. Now, I'm going to show you how to break the splits, whether we ever do the splits or not. What's the time now?
Hour 53.
Okay, nobody can pin you in the splits if you know how to do this. Okay, Mr. Abe, do you know how to do the splits?
Okay.
A little bit? Okay, here's what's going to happen here. Let me see how we want to do this. Go ahead and put your favorite leg on. You want to put your right leg on?
Yeah.
Your left leg, that doesn't matter. Okay, here we go. Now, I'm going to step up and he's going to grab these splits. And I'm not going to talk about how to do them particularly right now. And he's going to take me over towards my back. Now, right here, as I'm going onto my back, I have to act quickly, but I can break this. As I go onto my shoulders, I'm going to take my palms of my hands and put my hands right on my knees. My back is on the mat, my neck, my head, my shoulders, okay? And as I come to here, I'm going to really push and kick myself right back over him. I won't be on my back for 2 seconds. He is not going to get a near fall if I do this. Now in freestyle, it's a different story. But in collegiate wrestling, I'm going to be okay.
So do this again, Mr. Abe. Got his leg in. And as he's starting to take me over, we'll just go ahead and go through it here. Taking me over, right there, push! And I'm going to tip right over. I didn't do a very good job right there, but you can see I could still get my shoulders off and get a crossing. You can do this all the time and bring it. Now, once you come over, at this point, he may have broken his hands, or that leg may be starting to get loose. And so, I'm just going to pop my hips a little bit, arch back into him. And right here, I'm going to just try to get around his leg, around his arm, try to get turned. So I'm going to sort of pin him underneath of me right there. Okay, so that's one thing. By the way, is that where is that the camera here?
Yeah, to the
Okay.
right.
All right, okay. I forgot one thing. I want to show the sucker deal here if a guy's trying to split me. So Abe, go ahead and put your, well, let's do it with that left leg again. Okay, left leg is here. Now watch, I'm going to come around, we'll turn around here for the people, and I'm going to go here, and I've got that. Now look, my knee's up in the air. This guy sees that, and he thinks splits. His foot is still caught, or still around my leg there. Okay, so I haven't kicked my leg out yet. So he grabs that. This is a sucker deal. I gave him that leg. I want him to go ahead and act like he can do this. Now, do we have space back over there?
Yeah.
Okay. So he's going to start pulling on that like he's going to take the splits. And I'm going to act. I'm going to go, and I'm going to post this stuff and try to prevent him from pulling me until he really, really, really pulls hard. Then when he does, I push off my hands, push off my feet on the mat, kick that, and reach over his head and catch him. Now, he still had my leg momentarily, but he really can't hold it very well. So I've got him trapped now in a top head and arm, which I don't like, but it's better than being split. And so at this point, I just lock my hands around, turn my chest, and walk right up into his face with his arm across him a little bit. Probably not going to pin him. It's hard to know. But at least I have reversed him. I don't have the legs on anymore, and I've got back points. So let's look at it once more here. Your leg is in. I've hipped in. I've got my foot behind, and he catches me like he's going to split me. And and he starts pulling on that rascal, and he wants it real bad, and he doesn't understand that I'm going to kick his foot out here in a second. So finally, he gives a real good pull. I kick it out, push off, catch his head, and I would go under this top arm, lock it up, and turn and try to get my chest facing him a little bit and try to bend him down and pin him right here. His arms are crossing across his face and stuff, across his chest, so I might get him. Now that's a nice little sucker deal right there. Okay. What's our time?
Hour 58.
Okay. So we've covered pretty much what I want to do. If I want to do the breakdown, I'll do the one breakdown for the splits and go into the splits, and I'll leave the guillotine alone. I just don't care for it. I'm up in here and turn sideways, and I'll grab this leg that I've got hooked, and I'll grab that ankle and pull it up against my shin bone. And as I do, now turn back toward the camera, I'll start pulling on this, driving with my other foot, and jamming forward. And I'll break him down every time with that baby, because I can put a lot of torque on it. Then I keep pushing and lifting, and see his other legs start to come up. And here's the split right here. Now, as I do this, I never grapevine that leg. I always bend my knee down on the far leg. I get up on my foot, and let's say he hasn't turned much yet. I get up on my pusher foot and drive right up under his armpit. Way up under here, and as I turn him to pin him, I'm going on my shoulder side of the head, and I'm arching up, and I'm trying to pull his knees right down toward his face. Right there. We get in? Yeah, we get in there. Okay, now I don't use it much, and I've got now a habit of using it. But the bottom line is, Abe, lay right on your back with your head toward the camera. When he's finally being pinned, both of his legs should be his knees should be coming toward his shoulders like that. And I should be arched up, slide out of the way now. I should be arched up with my one knee down, the other knee pushing on my shoulder, side of the head with my belly button going right up into it, my abdomen going right up into it. I should not be laying here pulling sideways on this. I'm trying to pull his knees right up to his shoulders. And that's probably not the best demonstration that I just did in the world, but I don't want you using the splits much anyway. But if you do use them, pull everything to his head, pull everything to his shoulders, and make him feel like he wants to turn, wad him up, arch, bridge up, and pin him right there. Is that it? Still going?
Still.
All right, thank you very much. I think we've done about all the damage that we can do here today, and hopefully when you're doing legs or counting legs, you're going to have a lot of fun doing it. Go ahead and shut her off. Thank you.